You are listening to the Unleashed and Aligned podcast, where we strip away the noise, unleash our truth, and align with our highest self. I'm your host, Felicia Dahm, certified life coach, Reiki practitioner, and chakra guide, here to help women find deep love and interconnection within themselves. This podcast is here to increase awareness, inspire your journey, and educate you as you reclaim your energy and rise fully into who you are. Check the show notes for links to my healing circle, coaching, and more ways to work with me. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the Unleashed and Aligned podcast. I'm here with Tiffany Archilla. She is a mom that instead of celebrating milestones, she is celebrating inchstones. She is a mom that instead of taking her daughter to soccer practice and ballet recitals, she's taking her daughter to occupational, physical, and speech therapies. She is a mom that speaks for her child that cannot speak for herself. She is a dedicated special needs advocate and rare disease mom. She is also a supporter of the Grace Science Foundation. This is a biotech company founded in 2017 with a mission to develop novel therapies for NGLY1 deficiencies and other diseases. They are focused on understanding NGLY1 protein and its role in proteostasis. And Tiffany proudly wears the shirt that has her daughter's number on it. Number 98. She is the 98th person to have this rare genetic mutation. Welcome to the podcast, Tiffany.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We've touched a little bit on the hashtag cure NGLY1, but I wanted to have the listeners understand that a little bit more. Can you explain the meaning behind it and a little bit of the foundation and maybe if, how they can utilize the hashtags or how you utilize the hashtags?
Yeah, so I actually, when I post something related to her condition or even some pictures of her or her in therapy, I'll use the hashtag on social media. So, like Facebook, Instagram, you can probably even use it on TikTok, but that's like the hashtag that's globally used for the children that have this condition. So, basically, with the genetic mutation, she gets two copies, one from me and one from her biological father. I'm a carrier of the genetic mutation. Mine is an insertion, I believe, and her biological father carries a deletion in the gene. And unfortunately, we both gave her our mutated gene instead of the normal gene. So that's why she's affected by the condition.
And do you know if the Grace Science Foundation, they are obviously trying to work on how they can help people with this condition. Is there anything else that they do in forms of maybe fundraisers or anything like that?
Yes, so you can go to their page and actually contribute financially towards their mission, which is curing NGLY1 for all the kids and all the adults that have the condition. And all of those funds go toward the gene therapy clinical trial that they're currently working on right now.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
I love that you wear your shirt that's so crazy too. 98.
Yeah.
You're a mom that describes herself as celebrating inch stones instead of milestones. Can you share what that means in your day-to-day life and how it's changed your perspective on motherhood?
Yes. So why I use that quote and what it means to me is a neurotypical child is celebrating getting an A on a test, winning a soccer game, or going to a dance class and having a dance recital. It's very different being in the special needs and disabled community and the things that you celebrate. You celebrate more of the little things, more of, oh my God, she looked at me when I was talking. Oh, that was such great eye contact. Oh my God, she walked 10 feet in the gait trainer today. Oh my God, she was in the stander for an hour and she did not cry. It's different. It's celebrating different things that are on a smaller scale. Like my daughter doesn't walk. So her walking in a gait trainer is a big deal. Like just the other day, actually yesterday, I was bringing her in from school and I was like, let me put her down because I have to carry her and she's heavy. So I was like, let me put her down and see how she does with walking with me, just supporting underneath her arms. and she took a few steps, like, she walked throughout the entire kitchen. She got annoyed, but it's fine, but she did it. So that was a big deal for me. So it's different, is
Mhm.
all. And when you go into motherhood, you envision something different. Obviously, you envision your child meeting all those milestones, crawling, walking, talking, their first word, them saying mom, them saying I love you. And those are things I absolutely looked forward to, of course. And I don't like to speak in definite, like absolutes, but I also like to be realistic. And I don't know if I'll ever hear mom like, purposefully, like, I've heard her say it in a way that sounded like it was I don't know how purposeful it really was, but I don't know if I'll ever hear "I love you." And that breaks my heart a little bit, and there's a whole lot of grieving I think you do as a special needs parent because 'cause you're grieving not just the life that they were supposed to have and what they were supposed to be and what they were supposed to do and accomplish in their lives. You're also grieving the life that you were supposed to have as a parent, and it's just hard. But it doesn't take away the love that you have for them and how much they mean to you and how much you would just appreciate them, and it doesn't take any of that away, it just can be hard sometimes, is my point.
I think that it's beautifully said and also such a great reminder for people out there that maybe aren't going through that to really understand how much to appreciate the smaller things that you don't really pay
Right,
attention to
right,
because you're expecting that. And
right.
it's just such a beautiful reminder for all of us to really live in the present and be fully in the moment no matter what. It doesn't have to be something grand, it can be something small.
And that's part of what she's taught me. She taught me so many things, but the 2 biggest things to me is, 1, patience, but also, like, time is short, life is short. You don't know what tomorrow's gonna bring, and it's good to enjoy the moment. It's taught me not to hold grudges and because I used to, if I'm being honest, I used to be able to hold a grudge like no tomorrow. But I'm happy to say that now I try to, like, I don't get a lot of time to myself or to do things. So when I do, I appreciate them and value them a lot more.
Yeah.
And I don't let people get to me as much as I used to, if that makes sense.
Yes, and that actually dives into my next question, which you covered, but maybe there's something else that might spark. But you had talked about navigating all of these different therapies, occupational, speech,
Mhm.
physical, rather than taking your daughter to soccer practice or ballet recitals. So what has that journey really taught you about strength, patience, love, which you touched on, but is there anything else that you could elaborate on?
I guess she every day, I just appreciate the small things. And it's life, it is a lot harder for obvious reasons. She doesn't walk, she doesn't talk. I would say for strength, because I love her if she was neurotypical and I love her how she is. But for strength, I never knew I had the strength that I had until her. I've had to fight insurance. I've had to fight the state. I've had to fight schooling, like the school districts. I've had to fight teachers, directors. I've had to physical therapy, like just anyone that you can imagine in our circle. I've had to be the one to fight. A good example of that, we recently moved from New Jersey to Pennsylvania. New Jersey school, amazing. We went to Lakeview in Edison. Beautiful, amazing staff, just everything perfect. Loved it, never had an issue. Fast forward to now we're in Pennsylvania and it like New Jersey was here when it comes
Mm.
to everything they offer with school and like the people and just with schooling, perfect to come to here in Pennsylvania. And there was like that gap. So I had to fight a lot with them about, hey, why don't these kids have their own therapy space? Hey, why don't these kids have their own bathroom for toileting? Because let's be real, in a stall, like in the children's stalls, how are you fitting a toileting chair in there with 2 aides?
Yeah.
And then we talk about dignity and respecting her dignity. How are you able to close the door? Like, you can't even do that. So other kids are probably coming in and out, which I throw a big fuss about. And I might seem like the problem parent because of it, but at the end of the day, if it gets Ava what she needs, then that's what I will always do. So it taught me a strength like no other, a fight like no other, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Like, I'm happy to do it for her. Eh,
I think that advocacy that you have for your daughter it's so honorable, and I think that, like you said, you really don't know what's inside of you until you have something that you really love to fight for.
Exactly.
I think that's amazing.
The biggest thing I think the school that my daughter was in was 2 stories, and they didn't have evacuation chairs.
Oh,
Side note, I've been in situations that you would never expect. As a child, as an adult, I was in the mall when an active shooter was came into the mall. So I'm not naive to those, or I'm not ignorant to the things that could happen. So they might have thought I was being dramatic or far-fetched or thinking of these things, but I caused a big fuss about that too because if you have my daughter on the second floor in art, which is exactly how I toured the school, and this is exactly how it was, and the closest exit had stairs, and you don't even have an evacuation chair there. They made those kids go all the way back to the other side of the school to then be able to exit because all the wheelchair accessible exits were on one side of the school.
oh,
So just those 3 things were a fight. So much so that they ended up putting her in a new school for the fall. They did install the evacuation chairs, and I got the classroom for them for therapies. I got them new equipment because they were trying to have them use this old the neurotypical children had new laptops, and you can't even get these kids a new stander or a new gait trainer. It just blew my mind. So those are just some of the things that I've had to fight for, and it's just incredible that you even have to fight for it, but when you have the biggest motivation to do it, it makes it easier and way more, like, worth it.
so you mentioned before we started this podcast that you're going on a trip, and I'm super excited for you. Is
Thank you.
there any kind of tips for the parents out there that have special needs, that maybe their child has to be in a wheelchair and they
Mhm.
have special requirements? Is there tips that you could give to anybody out there looking to travel, but they're scared because of all of the what ifs or what they need to bring? And I can see how that would be
A challenge.
yeah, a challenge in itself.
So, what I did actually this is the first time I did this because she has gotten so much bigger now, but you can reach out to TSA in advance. Tell them what airport you're flying out of, tell them what airport you're flying back into. They ask about medications, they ask about just all the things. So I would definitely say that because they can also bring you a wheelchair. It's my understanding that they can bring you a wheelchair for the airport use as well. It also just helps with the ease of the TSA check-in part because they know what to expect. They know to expect you. They know that you're going to have a disabled child. I definitely recommend if you can bringing an additional person at least with you because packing for like being that my daughter's non-ambulatory, I have to get her on the airplane, so usually I carry her. I think this time they might have that stroller that goes in between the aisles, but before I wasn't doing that. So you have to break down the stroller yourself, and you can do that right at the gate. I definitely recommend bringing a book bag with all your like necessities. Do not put any medication in your checked bag for fear that it could get lost, stolen, leak, like anything like that. I just bring it on the plane with me. Also, just preparations. Like, for example, so for me, I know that Ava, she sleeps crazy. She doesn't understand, hey, this is the edge of the bed. I'm going to fall if I keep going. If she sees the remote, she's going to keep trying to get the remote. It doesn't matter if there's like a gap there. And so she would end up falling. in that situation. So to prepare for that, I met with insurance like in January, trying to get a travel safety bed through insurance. It was ultimately denied, unfortunately, which is also another fight. I did the travel safety bed. I bought this harness for the airplane. So it really depends on the needs of your child, but like mine is very, she moves enough where she can hurt herself, but she doesn't move enough where she could get up and walk, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
She likes to rock back and forth, and so she needs that extra support for her upper body. So I got like an airplane safe like harness on amsafe.com. So yeah, I just think knowing your child, preparing in advance, bring help if you can, do the pre-check-in, call TSA ahead of time. I think those are probably the biggest things, and making sure you pack everything you need, make sure you bring on the airplane anything you will immediately need, and
Oh,
then that helps for sure.
awesome. Thank you. And you had mentioned that her birthday's coming up. How old is she turning? 7. Oh, amazing.
I can't believe it.
And it's good that she's still young enough to be able to maneuver fairly, I wouldn't say easy, but better than like an adult
Yes,
person trying to navigate in the airports, especially.
right. Yes. And it sucks though because I've traveled alone with her 3 times, and I've always had to pick her up out of the stroller, then get the stroller compacted to get under the airplane, and it's really hard to do by yourself. It
Yeah, I
really
can
is.
imagine.
Yeah. So that's another thing. I would recommend if your child loves tablet and loves shows and stuff, you can download shows from Netflix and have them on the airplane and be able to watch them. If that calms your child, or the noise canceling headphones that might help your child if they don't like to hear that noise. Just things like that would be helpful, I think.
So, as someone who speaks for a child that can't speak for themselves, as I had mentioned in your bio, how have you learned to trust your intuition as her mother and advocate?
It's a good question. I have to say I lean on our friends and say, "Hey, this is the situation. What do you think about it?" And we have a really good friend that has been a very big resource, Lena, very huge resource for not just us, but like a lot of people. And I bounce ideas off of her to see, am I crazy for thinking that this is what should be expected for her? And usually, like, my requests are not that outlandish. So usually Lena will agree with me. So I think it's a lot of leaning on your village and really having that communication and saying, hey, what did you do for this? Or, hey, what do you think about this? This is what the school's doing. This is what Medicaid's doing. And sometimes there really is no resolution. You can appeal something with insurance as much as you want. If they don't want to pay for it, they're not going to pay for it. But there's certain battles that, like, choose your battles, right? So, like, I tried to appeal the bed, still didn't work, wasn't worth the fight anymore. But with the school, it absolutely was. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of, I think, leaning on the people around you.
Even if they don't have a special needs, I can imagine it's really helpful getting people involved that don't, because we all need to be more aware of what's going on. Like you said, having at the school the accessible safety things to get out of the school in case of an emergency is on one side. And if you are a parent and you don't have a child that needs that, sometimes you're not even asking, you're not even thinking. But if you heard somebody say
Right.
that, you'd probably be appalled, you know? Yeah, having people support regardless of if they have a child with it or have a family member with it or not. I think it's what brings all of us together is like, what in this situation, how would you feel as a parent? And being there to support the people that need it. I think it's huge.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And I don't fault anyone for not knowing or not realizing. I'll be honest, before Ava, did I ever think about, is there an accessible entrance here? No. Did I ever think about, is there a full size changing table for an adult in this establishment? No. I never thought about any of that. And neither did my family. I don't fault anyone that doesn't know, doesn't understand, because you only understand when you're immersed in it, when you're
Yeah.
exposed to it. For example, I have a 3-year-old nephew that absolutely adores her so much. And for another 3-year-old that's not exposed, they might not have that. They don't know how to interact. And I think just the exposure to it, and like you said, like letting people be aware of this. And to your point, like if another of a neurotypical child in her school was aware of that, they probably would be appalled, I would hope. But unfortunately, it's from what I've learned, it's not really going to be like they're not going to fight for it from what I've seen, which makes me sad a little bit. But there are parents that will, like my nephew's mom, my sister in law. She absolutely has gone to bat for me so many times since I've moved here. So it's just, you're 100% right. Just making everyone aware, having people have it in their heads to just keep it as a thought instead of just coasting through and not really having that exposure to be aware of it, if that makes sense.
Yes. Once you learn about what's going on, you can't unlearn it. And it's up to that individual person to really step up and see like how they want to move through life knowing what they know at that point. And I think that's why I'm hoping
Mm.
that these episodes are powerful enough to have people realize what other people are going through and have more compassion, more empathy, awareness, and hopefully spark something in somebody to, whether it's contributing to a cause, whether it's helping advocate for a cause, whether it's just spreading word or being kinder to people. Any of those things I think helps, and it really does start with that awareness, like you said. We can't really help what we don't know or we're not paying attention to.
And I don't fault anybody if they haven't had that exposure. I didn't before, but it can be something as simple as not taking that handicap spot. It might sound small, but for example, I was dealing with that for the longest. I do pick up and drop off with my daughter's school since she started school. I don't bus her. So now that we're in Pennsylvania and we're in a different school, they have very limited handicap parking spots. And I had a lot of issues where people that didn't have the handicap placard or the disability placard or the plate would take those spots. And it got to a point where I couldn't even pick Ava up from school because I didn't have a spot because I have to deploy my ramp. And how am I supposed to do that if I don't have a handicap spot? I can't deploy it with a car right next to me. It could be something as small as that, not taking that handicap spot if you're thinking about it, or holding the door for that woman with her disabled child. It's just those little things go a really long way.
I love that. So, what do you wish more people understood about parenting a child with a rare disease or a disability or special needs?
Parenting is hard. Parenting a neurotypical child is hard, but then you add in a child with disabilities or special needs and physical, whether learning and then physical, it compounds. And people I guess people don't realize how much special needs parents go through on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes getting up is hard. Every time, actually, it's hard getting us out the house because I can't say, Ava, can you get dressed for me? Get your shoes on. We need to get out the door. All of her activities of daily living fall on me. And I think what I would say is, I just want people to be kinder. I've learned over the years when I've had certain interactions with people within this industry, whether it be a doctor's office, a receptionist, a doctor. I've had people say some really crazy, outlandish things to me. And I just would say to think before you speak and hear, try to understand. You don't know what, and this goes for just any person in life. You never know what the person next door to you is going through. You don't know what your neighbor across the street's going through. You just don't know. So why don't we just be kinder to people? Like, you don't know if I spend 5 hours on the phone with insurance and OptumRx to get her medications figured out. And now I'm calling you and you're giving me an attitude. That's the only thing I can say because there's nothing that they can do other than be understanding and be kind. I don't expect anything from anyone. I just would like people to be kinder. And if you're going to be in this industry, be more empathetic. I'm telling you, I've had some crazy things said to me. Just an example. This is the most recent thing I could probably think of. I was on the phone with a DME provider, durable medical equipment. I had been on the phone for hours that day, hours between insurance and the DME provider and then another DME provider trying to get something. I started to cry just because I was so frustrated because she turns to me and she's, "What I'm asking you is not really that hard." Just like that. And with probably even more attitude than what I just said it. And I just started to cry because I was like, with all due respect, I normally wouldn't do, like, I try to keep it to myself for as much as I could. But I said, with all due respect, I understand what you're asking me is not all that hard. But when it took me a week to get that because I was given misinformation from you, and it took me a week to get in touch with the pediatrician to get what I already have, to now have to go back to them and say, "Oh, I'm sorry. What I told you was incorrect because I got misinformation from the vendor," to now have to wait another week when I've already been waiting for months for this. It's frustrating. And the lady's been nice to me ever since. But
That's good.
yeah, but I've just been getting, especially lately, like just that nasty, I don't want to help you type of attitude. And that's the only, I don't expect you to do anything other than if I'm calling you and it's your job, that I don't expect anything from anybody. I just, would it kill you to be nice is all.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
I'm glad that you said that she changed her tone because I also think that oftentimes we don't realize how what we're saying or how we're saying it because maybe we're frustrated with something or what
Right.
somebody else's day is. And I've recently said that to one of my friends. I'm like, if I'm ever out of line or say anything, tell me in the moment because I want
Hmm.
to check myself and my attitude right away. I don't want it to linger because I can like I think we all can get
Oh,
it,
yeah.
and I think most of us are trying to be, like, quote, unquote, "nice" and not say anything or not speak up, but I absolutely love people that are like you who's, "Listen, I've been dealing with this, and this is really frustrating, and whatever the case may be, whether it's misinformation or whether it's just having a bad day, like, I have to deal with this
Hmm.
every day," and having somebody kind of step back and be like, "Oh, whoa, I was out of line, I'm sorry."
That self-awareness,
Yeah.
that accountability is all it really takes because I haven't had an issue with her since, and I didn't hold a grudge about it either. I
Right.
could have easily been like, "I don't wanna deal with her," but I'm just not like that. I just want things to I already have a
Enough
lot of
stress.
battles. Yes, and I fight a lot of battles that a lot of people don't see. And, like, even my boyfriend has sat there and seen me on the phone literally for hours trying to get this thing accomplished. I would get one reason from Optum, the prescription carrier, on why it's not being processed, then I would call insurance. Now I would get a completely different reason. I'm like, "Can you guys just talk to each other?" And it's just I'm very lucky to say I work from home, and it's literally the only reason I'm able to do everything that I do. With the amount of time I take on her stuff, taking her to doctor's appointments, scheduling them. She was in the hospital twice in the past month, unexpectedly. And then I had surgery, and it's been a lot. So it's just be nice, just be kind, be understanding, be compassionate, empathetic. Try to understand a little bit. If you're a parent, I feel like some parents will understand a little bit more maybe than people that don't have children, but at the same time, that's why I love Lena so much, and that's why I love my Lakeview community so much because they get it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking to someone that lives the same life that I do, and that does help. It really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that having that community is so important, especially when I can imagine it feeling like you can feel very lonely at times, or like that you're the only one going through it, or maybe you're the only one in your community that has a special needs child. I can see
Mhm.
how that could feel. You feel really disconnected because somebody can offer, oh, that sounds frustrating and that sounds stressful and hard, but they really don't know it because they haven't lived it.
Like, I will say I felt like that one time for a while, because I felt like I knew that there had to be single parents with children with disabilities. There just had to be, I couldn't be the only one in the world. but I wasn't seeing it.
Right.
I was only seeing, oh, hey, like she has her husband or he has his wife and they tag team and they help each other. And for me, for a really long time, I was a single parent. I was a single parent up until she was 4 years old. So to your point, you get very lonely and you start to think, oh my God, am I the only person? Like, I don't get a break. And then you see these married couples and with their kids. And while their life also isn't perfect and nobody's is, but you also are just like, I would love to have a shower without having to worry. I would love to be able to have someone cook dinner for us and not have to worry about it or go grocery shopping, take something off, which I have that now. But I did not have that for a really long time. So it was very lonely. But luckily, I had really good friends around.
That's good.
Yeah.
Can you touch a little on that emotional and mental resilience it takes to not only advocate daily, but just for everything that comes with it?
Oh, it's hard. It's hard. There's been times where, so for me, I have a running to do list of everything for her, and then I have a work to do list. Hers goes and goes. If I take a day and I don't work on it, or I don't follow up or do what I need to do for it, it just keeps growing. And that can be very overwhelming because if you don't do it, who will? If I don't, who
Right.
will? And that's a lot to take on. But I think that when you have a child and you love them so much, you just do what you need to do. It's something that I feel like switches in you when you become a parent. And no matter how tired, you might have to take a break. You might have to say, I'm going to finish this tomorrow. I can't look at this anymore. You might have to do that. And that's okay. And that's fine. Do as much as you can. Take the time when you need it. Lean on your village. Talk to your friends about it. Sometimes in our community, actually, and just as parents, as people, sometimes you just want someone to listen. They don't even need to say anything.
Yeah.
So, lying to you if I said it was not hard sometimes, because every day I have to get up and I have to give her a medication. I have to carry her downstairs. I have to change her diapers. I have to cook for her. I have to feed her. She can't feed herself. So, there really is a lot. Sometimes you just don't want to do anything.
Yeah. Is there a practice or anything that you do that maybe helps your mental state, physical body? I'm sure that it's just always exhausting from head to toe, but is there something that
Yeah,
you incorporate?
routine for me and for her. 7 p.m., she's in bed. She gets her medication, she gets her diaper changed, she gets pajamas on, she goes to bed. I'll check on her, of course, afterwards, but that's my time to clean up. That's my time to shower. And she also just, she likes to sleep. So it works for us. I would also say it's okay to leave things for the next day. I have a hard time doing that sometimes, but sometimes you're just so frustrated and it doesn't get you anywhere. Just honestly gets you more frustrated. So
Yeah.
learning to just say, okay, I want to get this done in the week. This is what I need to get done on Monday. And take that long laundry list of things for the week and do it by day to not overwhelm yourself. That's what I do to help me. Sometimes that goes haywire and it doesn't even work because I'll get a call from the DME provider about that. And I needed to call this or so sometimes it goes a little haywire or if work is crazy, I need to focus on work. But I would say have your to-do list and break it up by day so it's less for each day, routine. And if you're able to, also talk to someone. Therapy is never a bad thing. But even if you can't do that, talk to a friend about how you're feeling. If you're feeling overwhelmed, ask for help. And I know I have a hard time doing that. So I imagine I'm not the only one. But ask for help. If you have people that can help you, let them. Let
Yeah.
them. Those would be what I would say.
I think those are all amazing suggestions. And I especially love that you touched on like letting people help because that is something I think people get really prideful of. or they don't want to put somebody out, but people are in your life because they care about you and love you, and it makes them feel good to help. So
Mhm.
I think that is always a good thing.
Yeah.
If there's one message you could give to moms in similar situations who might feel alone, overwhelmed, or unseen, what would you want them to hear today?
Your feelings are valid for sure, because a lot of the time I like to just feel like you understand me and what I'm saying, and that sometimes I just need my feelings validated. And yeah, that's frustrating. Or, oh my God, you were on the phone for how long and they didn't help? Or Medicaid did that, did what? Like sometimes it's just nice to feel validated and be heard. And so I would say you're valid. Your feelings are valid. Number one. Number two, you're not alone. And everything you're doing has the biggest purpose of your life, and that's your baby, and your baby loves you, and they see everything that you're doing, and they see all of the hardships, and it's all worth it at the end.
Love
That's
it.
what I would say.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast, Tiffany. It was so amazing to speak with you. You're so incredible to not only parent your daughter the way you do, but you also did it by yourself for so many years. And I think that speaks volumes to your. If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review so that we can connect with more people to develop our mind, body, and spirit. Strength in your mental and emotional endurance. You are
Thank
definitely
you.
somebody to look up to, whether you have a special needs child or not. So I really
Oh,
appreciate you
thank
being
you.
on here.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for doing this, like, segment, because you're doing a very powerful thing by bringing that awareness to people that don't have any insight, or they don't have a friend, they don't have a family member with disabilities, and your podcast is gonna give them some insight, so thank you for doing that. That's
Thank
really
you.
special.
Thank you so much.
Of course.